So in my last video, I said some things that were pretty deep, and based on your comments and the view time and all the things, it appeared that you guys really liked it and you had some things to say. I thought that was great. I loved the feedback, but there was one particular topic within the video, which you can see, it's up in the iCards right now, that I didn't really get a chance to touch on. And I wanted to spend some special time in this video touching on that topic because I believe that as a special needs parent, parent of children with a learning disability, actually, honestly, like a parent in general, if your child does anything wrong or struggles in any way, you know, this video's gonna resonate, okay? So one of the things I was really pushing for you to get from the video is challenge yourselves. And when we challenge ourselves, one of there's some consequences. Some are really positive, obviously, you change. But also there's the negative consequences, which we all know God can use things for good. We get it, and He does. But in the moment, it doesn't really feel so good. And it's an obstacle that we have to overcome. And that is having to let go of the past. Whether it's our children themselves having to let go of the past, whether it's us ourselves having to let go of our past, whether it's our children feeling like others don't let go of the past, and same for us, other people not letting go of the past. How are we going to deal with those things when we run into that, right? So we're going to kind of touch on a little bit of this because I'm going to tell you what, I've been there for real. Been there, done that. I'm going to give you some stories to share. And feel free to leave some comments in the description box below. Not the comment section below. I write the description box. And that's where a lot of information and timestamps are for this video, as well as how you can reach out to me. My name is Leilani. This channel is Living with Eve. You like anything having to do with parenting, homeschool, biblical education, special needs education, this will probably be your jam. So go ahead and subscribe and keep up with me. We do videos once a week and lots of shorts and lives on top of that. Yes, we do a lot, okay? Very active. So let me get back to what we're talking about. We challenge ourselves, and then the first step, we have to find a way to help our children let go of the past. And it's a good thing. Let me just stress, it's a very, very good thing when we challenge ourselves and we notice, because the first thing when we challenge ourselves and we notice that there is something that we don't necessarily always do correctly, or is something that we struggle with, and as we're challenging ourselves, eventually something's going to click, the bells and whistles are going to go off, and we overcome that obstacle and we change. It's kind of like taking off the old, putting on the new. And there's a lot of things in our society, side note, that people easily accept when you do that obstacle, you know, you overcome that obstacle. Like, for example, you know, I'm just throwing this out there, okay? Drug addiction, for example. When somebody overcomes that obstacle, society embraces that idea very easily. However, there are lots of things in society where if you overcome an obstacle, they don't necessarily embrace it so quickly, even though you know deep down inside that you've changed. And it could be something as simple as a lying problem that you have. You've overcome that obstacle, but society, for some reason, wants to remember when you hurt them. All right, and usually it's personal. Usually it's those things that are personal they hold on to, okay? So let's talk about it, you know, since we're parents here, okay? For example, your child is struggling with math. They're really, really far behind when they're in third grade, and you're having to redo a whole nother third grade curriculum with them. They have it in their mind that they're not good at math. Regardless of what you say or what you do, it's really hard to hide that from them. They know that they're struggling. So one of two things, or a couple things may happen, one of which is they challenge themselves and they push themselves to do better so that they can overcome that obstacle. Another one is they just want to quit and have nothing to do with it. So obviously you want to challenge your child, but in a positive way, of course. You want to make it fun. You want to find ways to make it gentle. You want to encourage them through this journey. That's huge. You want to try different curriculum. You want to encourage them that, you know, it's okay that it's taking a while to click. You tell them stories about your situations to let them know that there's nothing wrong with them. And then as long as they keep persevering through that, let's say it does click and they get it. And all of a sudden they're like super math person. They're really good at it all of a sudden. Are they going to be able to let go of the fact that in the beginning they weren't good at math, how many times is that, going to haunt them? Now, I'm going to tell you, I'll sit back and tell you I'm good at math, okay? I'm not going to lie. I have taken off the old and put on the new. But this actually goes deeper, because when I was in middle school, I was in a class. I was in, the above average math class, right? And I was making A's and B's, like no problem in there, right? And so the teacher actually said, look, I have to weed you guys out. I can't put you guys all in the advanced class next year because we only have a certain amount of seats, and I'm getting complaints from the teachers that they're just letting anybody go into the above average class, and we just need to weed you guys out, is what he stated. So of course I'm like, okay, but he made it very clear that on this specific exam, it's only going to be given on one day, and if you don't show up for the exam, you're just going to go into the average class anyway, so don't, Well, here's me. I really wanted to do well in math. I wanted, for many, many reasons, I was one of those students that really wanted to do well, I guess. A lot of us were, actually. And I actually showed up to the exam and I was sick. Okay, of course I didn't do well. He announced it in front of the class, the ones that were going to continue the above average class, because he only took a certain percentage of the top. And he made it very clear to everyone in there that they were all boys that were going to the advanced class. And he kind of started making some jokes about it. And he kind of picked on me a little bit because he knew my family. He was neighbors with a family member of mine when they were kids. And he thought it would be funny to pick on me being a girl, right? And this kind of continued a little bit. And I mean, I was kind of naive, I guess. I just kind of, hey, you're not going to the above average class because you're a girl and girls don't know how to do math. And so it goes a little deeper. I held on to that statement for so many years. And it leaked even into high school, where I gave up on even trying to get into the above average math class. There was a point where I just gave up, because I allowed that past label, that past hurt, to make me make the choice that I'm not even going to challenge myself. I remember geometry specifically. I would walk into that class and I would do my work, turn it in, and sit in the back of the room during the lecture and read a book. And the teacher many, many times was like, do you want to get tested to move into the above average class? And I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't care. So that was kind of my attitude. It wasn't one of wanting to be challenged. And so as parents, when we see that go in that direction, we want to try to find ways to encourage them back, but also find ways to see if there are some past hurts, there are some past baggage that they're dragging along with them that maybe may not make them want to challenge themselves at something that they may otherwise be really good at. So it is kind of you have to be very sensitive to your kids. So let me pull out another example too. Let's say this kid, okay, I'm making this totally up on the spot. Okay, let's just talk about somebody, middle schoolers are mean. That's a lot of reasons why we pull our kids out of public school and we homeschool them, okay? Let's say they're labeled as fat. I'm just gonna throw that out there because that does happen. Or chubby, they don't say fat anymore. They use other words to make it, they're good. They're manipulating the vocabulary, the English language, okay? I don't even know why they're even in English class anymore because they're so good at the manipulation. Anyway, no, I'm just joking. But no, they do. They manipulate these words, right? And they make you feel as if a child feels as if they are fat. So let's just say, hypothetically, let's just say the child is legit overweight. Let's just throw that out there, okay? And let's say it is stemming from unhealthy habits, right? Let's say that the child challenges themselves, not in an unhealthy way. We all know that can go down that rabbit hole. But let's say they challenge themselves in a healthy way, where they start to eat more fruits and vegetables. They start to cut out the breads and the sugars, and they really just focus on getting enough sleep, eating healthy, and they put themselves on a good routine and they become healthy. They overcome that obstacle. They've challenged themselves, they've overcome, they're in shape, they're healthy, but then there's that still idea in their mind that they can't seem to let go of their fat. All right, that can lead, just that idea of not letting go of that can lead them down in that area so many horrible avenues. Everything from eating disorders to breaking down and binging again and giving, there's lots of different things. So recognizing that sometimes people struggle with not letting go of things, as a parent, we really have to think about how we facilitate it, right? They're struggling with math, the light bulb goes off, they're good at math again. Encourage that even more. You can talk them up how great they are at math. Same thing with getting in shape, eating healthy. I mean, the same thing can be true with their attitude towards things. Let's say they have a temper and they're angry. They work on overcoming that anger, and they work on different techniques, different this, and maybe they have completely overcome that anger, because we all know, right? We all know that middle school and teens can have anger problems that stem from hormones, and a lot of that is hormonal based. But what if they don't let go of that when they're a grown up? Are they going to fall back into that, right? Or are we going to notice that change and encourage them as they grow into that? So that's just something that we need to think about as well when we're parenting. The other obstacle that you may find is that others don't forgive as easy. I kind of touched on that when I said, and it usually does tend to be personal, but others tend to not let that go, and they will bring it up over and over and over again. It's almost like the past keeps coming back to haunt you. And how do we deal with that? I feel like, though, I will say this, as a child, it's easier for people to see them change as they grow up. We're more willing to forgive a child for having an attitude problem in middle school when they hit teen years and early 20s and they don't have that same attitude. It's easy for us to forgive them because, they were a teenager, they were hormonal, they were a kid, da, da, da. But here's the other thing: as an adult, if we continue to challenge ourselves, and this is about us now as parents, right? People aren't so easy to forgive us when we make changes. And see, this actually plays into the idea of being a lifelong learner, right? A lifelong learner, a lifelong person who challenges themselves to learn more, to be a better person, to strive for, I almost want to say just strive for holiness, strive for doing better, right? It's, of course, obviously, it's not about works and salvation. This is not what we're talking about. We're just wanting to be better people, just to be better people, right? And to glorify God, of course. Other people, though, as adults, will not forgive us, especially if it's personal. So how on earth are we going to handle that when our kids get into their 20s? When we run into those things? Okay, and I'll give you an example. And I feel like examples seem to really just kind of work. I actually know a parent, when she had young children, she really, really struggled with discipline. She let them get away with everything. She didn't know how to handle it. And then one day she decided enough is enough. Her and her husband, I don't know if it was her husband that stepped up to the plate or her, I don't know. But something happened where they turned everything around and they realized that they needed to put an action plan down, a discipline her kids. So she did. She said it was tremendously tough. But her kids actually had a hard time letting go of the fact that when they were younger, they got away with everything. And when they were older, she was very strict. Other people had a hard time adjusting to her changing with the discipline. They always referred to her as a very relaxed, she didn't care about her kids kind of mom. They were so resistant to seeing her change because for some reason in our minds, we don't think adults can change. Once again, that comes down to the lifelong learning attitude that we don't always have, because the way the public school teaches us that learning ends when you turn 18 or when you finish college. It doesn't. You learn. Now, looking at all of this from an outside perspective, right? Looking outside in at the situation, I think the biggest advice that I have for parents, for kids, is that it is about challenging ourselves. Yes, we should always challenge ourselves. But the next thing that we need to do is then challenge ourselves to forgive and let go of the past, to move beyond. You know, you always hear that phrase like, you know, I'll forgive you, but I won't forget. Okay, there's some truth to that, but sometimes that forget part becomes bitterness and resentment. That's not what we're talking about. It's just being aware that that person may slip back into old habits, and if they do, you have an understanding of where it came from, and you know how to handle it better. Not that I'm going to resent them and talk bad about them, you know. It's an understanding that they could slip into some old habits. So therefore, it could be I protect myself by not allowing them to know this information about me. Or if they do slip into those little habits, I know now how I can encourage them to get back out of that and remind them that we do forgive them. So they're, obviously different situations, but it does apply to your kids too. I think it just really does come down to forgiveness of ourselves and forgiveness of others. It's so simple. But sometimes we don't see how simple it is, and that's why I kind of took you down this little journey with me right now. Because I think as parents, it's not so easy to forgive. And it's not easy for other people to forgive us when we change. So I want to continue to encourage you as parents to challenge yourself and challenge your kids to do better. And if people bring up the past, I'm going to also challenge you to let it go. They don't want to forgive you. Pray for them. That's their problem. A lot of these things have been on my heart, and I think a lot of these unforgiveness in and of itself is an excuse. There we go. Unforgiveness in and of itself is an excuse not to challenge ourselves, which is also rooted in pride. Isn't that interesting? There you go. Okay, thank you for coming on this journey with me. Leave some comments down below. Okay, but seriously, like next week, I'm gonna because I just had to go on these 2 weeks in a row kind of ramble, but next week, I'm gonna get back into, because I've been really into studying up on how to sight read. I've been looking at hyper-focusing. I've been looking at some curriculum reviews, and I'm going to get back into that a little bit more. Unless you want to see more of me talking about these really deep parenting type ideas, which applies to us homeschool moms totally in education. It's all combined. It's all together, right? Let me know in the comments down below, and I am going to, I'm going to confess right now, I'm going to change my sweater and record another video. So until then, I will put last week's video up here if you want to see it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.